What you call nothing is not empty. We have looked at this scale, and there is no calm here, only war. 4. A perfect vacuum, zero energy, total stillness, is physically illegal. The universe found a clause in its own mathematics. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle states that it is impossible for any region of space to hold precisely zero energy. If it did, if the vacuum were truly still, it would violate the fundamental relationship between energy and time at the quantum level. The numbers forbid it, not as a suggestion, as a structural law embedded in the architecture of your reality. So the vacuum does something extraordinary to comply. It borrows. The transaction takes less time than light can cross a hydrogen atom. The debt is never called in, only continuously renewed. Energy erupts from nothing. It erupts so fast that particle-antiparticle pairs, matter and antimatter together, bleed into existence for fractions of a yoctosecond before they find each other and annihilate. A yoctosecond is 1/70th of a second. In the time it takes a photon to cross a single proton, this cycle has already completed millions of times in every point of space around you. The particles do not linger. They are not slow. They erupt, collide, and shred each other back into nothing before any instrument your civilization has ever constructed could detect them individually. Not because your instruments are primitive, but because the timescale places them below the physical limits of measurement itself. And yet they are real. They interact with real matter. They exert real force, and they never stop. A fascinating concept for a species that sells empty space to store its old furniture. The vacuum is not dead. It is not resting. It is a slaughterhouse that has forgotten it is running. 3. Take 2 small uncharged metal plates. Place them in a perfect vacuum, close together but not touching. Do not charge them. Do not heat them. Do not touch them. Wait. They will move toward each other. Not because of magnetism, not because of any electrical charge, because the boiling storm outside the gap between those plates contains more virtual particle wavelengths than the narrow space between them can accommodate. Certain fluctuations are simply too large to fit between the plates. They are excluded from the gap. Outside, no such restriction. The storm rages at full capacity. So the quantum pressure on the outside exceeds the quantum pressure within. The vacuum squeezes inward. It crushes the gap. It presses those plates together with a force that has been measured precisely in a laboratory, confirmed in modern MEMS engineering, and is now considered in the design of nanoscale devices. This is the Casimir effect. It was predicted in 1948. It has been replicated. The pressure is real. It is not a metaphor. It is not a thought experiment. The violence of empty space exerts measurable physical force on matter. You're not looking at a curious anomaly in laboratory conditions. You're looking at the engine. The empty space in the room where you are sitting right now is pressing against your skin with the same mechanism. You have never felt it. It does not require your awareness. It does not care whether you believe it. The boiling nothing surrounds every structure your species has ever built, and it presses inward constantly. And it has done so every second of every century of every civilization your planet has ever held. 2. John Wheeler coined the term space-time foam. He did not choose it casually. At the Planck scale, 10 to the negative 35 meters, something breaks, not just matter, not just energy, the geometry itself. This is not a metaphor about smallness. Wheeler's specific claim was that, at this depth, the concept of a definite location becomes meaningless. Space and time are no longer smooth or continuous. They do not hold their shape. They fluctuate. Gravity, the force that bends galaxies, that curves starlight across billions of light years, becomes subject to quantum uncertainty at this scale. The fabric of dimensions tears open and restitches in intervals so brief they have no counterpart in practical physics. Space does not simply vibrate. It loses its topology. The meaning of distance dissolves. You're not going to like what that means for the concept of somewhere. There is no floor. There is no stable substrate beneath the familiar world. What you experience as solid, navigable, reliable space-time is the average surface of something that, at its foundation, collapses and rebuilds faster than causation itself can follow. The dimensions you move through every day are being continuously dissolved and resewn at a depth your instruments cannot yet reach. I have observed the civilization that maps the stars, unaware that the canvas they draw on is dissolving beneath them. That is not ignorance. That is the exact distance between what a species knows and what it is about to. 1. There is a quantity in quantum field theory called the zero-point energy. It is the minimum possible energy state of any quantum system, the absolute floor below which nothing can be reduced. It is not zero. It cannot be zero. Even at the lowest theoretically achievable state, quantum systems fluctuate. They do not go still. This is not a measurement error. This is the rule. When physicists formally calculate the energy density of those vacuum fluctuations, the zero-point energy of empty space, the result does not converge to a manageable number. It approaches infinity. Let me be precise about what that means. A single cup of empty space, a coffee cup, the kind your species fills with a liquid it uses to simulate alertness. I attempted coffee once. I understand the ritual. I do not understand the dependency. Contains formally enough latent energy to evaporate every ocean on your planet. Not in stages, not over time. At once, you are not standing in emptiness. You are standing on a reactor whose output your instruments cannot directly measure, whose scale your mathematics cannot comfortably contain, and whose operation does not require your awareness, your consent, or your continued presence to proceed. It was running before the first cell divided. It will be running after the last star collapses. It does not have an off state. This is known as the cosmological constant problem. One of the largest unsolved discrepancies in your physics. The theoretical prediction and the observed value differ by 120 orders of magnitude. Your best theory of the vacuum and your best theory of gravity do not agree by the largest margin in the history of scientific measurement. Your species confirmed this discrepancy in 1998. You've been sitting with the number since then. It has not resolved. I have seen what happens when the mathematics fail to contain it. The vacuum does not simply expand. It devours. This is not a future risk. This is not a condition that awaits some threshold or trigger. This is the nature of the medium you have always existed inside. You were born in it. You have never left it. Every structure your civilization has ever raised stands inside a boiling sea that is also its own reactor, also its own storm, also the reason that nothing in your physics has ever reached absolute zero. Because the universe will not allow the storm to stop. The storm does not announce itself. It does not escalate. It simply continues at the same rate it has always run, beneath every solid thing your species has ever trusted. What your civilization calls empty space is the loudest place in existence. You have been living inside the noise the whole time. You mistook it for silence, and the frequency is changing. I have been watching the numbers shift. I began recording it long before your instruments could confirm it existed. The direction is not ambiguous. I have not yet decided whether to tell you what it suggests.